The ideal profile for this set of tools we will demo from the Swarms ecosystem would be an analyst or researcher who is looking to digest large amounts of data. The problem these tools are aiming to solve would be the data limitations of LLMs. LLMs are only designed to process a limited amount of data per interaction, and studies show the more data you pipe through an LLM, the more inaccurate its results will tend to be. Here's a table showing 4 popular LLMs and their context windows. We're using a conversion ratio of 0.75 words to 1 token. While these context windows are impressive, they don't tell the full picture. This research paper, published March 2024, referred to as the long agent paper, according to my understanding, reports that as more data is sent to an LLM, like for example those of the GPT and Claude families, recall accuracy degrades. Let's take a closer look at the results for GPT-4. In the rightmost column, we're seeing the results of piping in about 300 pages of data and asking questions about information present at various depths. Here, for example, we're asking a question about something, let's say, halfway through on page 150, and we're seeing that the LLM answers accurately less than 50% of the time, as indicated by the red color. In the leftmost column, we're seeing the results of piping in about 3 pages of data and asking about information, let's say, about halfway through page 2. And we're seeing that the LLM answers accurately about 90% of the time, as indicated by the green color. Zooming out, what these charts are telling us is that as we pipe more data through LLMs, their accuracy in terms of information recall degrades. My understanding of why LLMs behave like this is due to the high costs of training on longer input data. These high costs cause companies to avoid longer data when training. If you can shed more light on this matter, please leave a comment. I would love to learn more. The approach used in the long agent paper for increasing accuracy in terms of information recall consisted of, who would have guessed, leveraging groups of agents or swarms. The swarm described in the paper consisted of one agent designated as the leader, whose MO was to delegate subtasks to one or more worker agents, where each worker was given a different chunk of some overall data. After the leader agent received the delegated outputs of the worker agents, it was directed to deduce the final output. Okay, you now have enough background information to appreciate what this chunking tool we're about to show, built by Swarms, does. For this demo, we'll be using NVIDIA's 2024 quarterly SEC filings as our test data. This is how we use this chunking tool. First, we drag and drop our files. Second, we customize our request. Here are the prompts that we'll use. This is the prompt that gets sent to the workers along with their delegated chunks. And this is the prompt that gets sent to the leader. And this prompt will be executed after the leader receives the output of all the workers. We'll leave these as default, and we'll go to the next step where we can review our request. Here we see our files. Here we see our prompts. And this button will send our request to our swarm. Here are the results. And supposedly, NVIDIA, according to GPT-4o Mini, is killing it. Here's a graphic walking us through what just happened. What we just did is use Swarms' overall chunking tool. This is great for having an AI analyzer process large groups of documents. The use cases for this tool would be analyzing financial reports, analyzing resumes when hiring, analyzing health records, etc. Here's how it works. Step 1, you provide your data organized into files and 2 prompts, prompt A and prompt B. Prompt A is what gets assigned to the workers in the swarm. Prompt B is what gets assigned to the leader. This is the prompt that gets ran after all of the workers finish generating their outputs. The final thing you need to provide is the LLM you want to use. For example, Claude or GPT-4 or Llama 3. In the previous example, we used GPT-4. Step 2, Swarms will split the files that are too large to send to the desired LLM into chunks. Step 3, Swarms applies prompt A to the chunks of each file sequentially, with the output of processing a chunk passed as context when processing the next chunk. This is so the LLM has an overall sense of the file. Step 4, after all of the workers are finished generating their outputs, aka after prompt A has been applied to all of the chunks, we are left with the output of analyzing or processing each file in the batch of files that was uploaded to the chunking tool. Step 5, we apply prompt B, which is the overall prompt or the final prompt that the leader applies to the outputs of all of the workers or all of the chunks. And this gives us our final result. Because Swarms' framework is model agnostic, we can mix and match LLMs when building our swarms and analyzing data. Let's now configure the agents in our swarm to use Claude instead of GPT-4o. First, we drag and drop our files. Second, we configure our request. We're going to use the same prompts as before. This is the prompt that gets sent to the workers along with their delegated chunks. And this is the prompt that gets assigned to the leader. Here is where we can specify the LLM used by all of the agents in our swarm. Let's switch GPT-4o Mini to now be Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Click Next. We review our request and we send our request to our swarm. Now we can compare and contrast the outputs of our swarm when it uses different LLMs. On the top, we see the output of GPT-4o Mini. On the bottom, we see the output of Claude 3.5 Sonnet. You can see that both of these swarms that are using different LLMs under the hood are relaying some of the same information. Trusting one LLM all the time seems a bit unreliable. Let's showcase one last feature of this chunking tool that will allow us to stay even closer to our data sources. The feature I'm referring to is called per-page chunking. The process of how we do this is the same as before. First, we drag and drop our files. Second, we configure the request that's going to get sent to our swarm. We'll be switching the mode of our swarm to be per page. What this mode does is apply a prompt to each page of any paginated files that are sent to the swarm. So what we can do is use a swarm like this. Summarize the content, which is one page of a larger 2024 Q2 10Q SEC filing by NVIDIA in a way that is easily comprehended by a high schooler. A prompt like this allows us to generate on-demand cliff notes of arbitrary data. We can also do prompts that allow us to search through documents in a more natural way. But anyways, let's run this and observe the output so you get a feel for how this works. We review our request and send our request to the swarm. Here is what the results look like. We can see that our prompt has been applied to each page of this document. Because the amount of words on a single page tends to be between 300 to 500 words, per page chunking can yield more accurate results compared to other methods due to how LLMs currently work. Here's a graphic that walks us through what just happened. What we just experienced is what the Swarms ecosystem refers to as per page chunking. Per-page chunking is great for searching across paginated data like PDFs and for generating on-demand cliff notes. Here's how it works. Step 1, we provided our data organized into files, our prompt, and we also selected the LLM we want to use. For example, Claude, GPT-4, or Llama 3. Step 2, Swarms split the paginated files so that each chunk was equal to one page of the document. Swarms then looped through and applied our prompt to each page. Finally, we will return the output of the LLM processing each page of each file in our batch. While this chunking tool might seem abstract, according to Swarms CEO Kai Gomez, it is experiencing, among other tools in the Swarms ecosystem, traction in the financial and market analysis space.